The world recognizes hypocrisy because it lives it so well. Hi, I'm Brother Francisco Whitaker, and this is All Good in the Brotherhood. Welcome back to another episode of Benedictine Spirituality 101, where we look at lessons in the Christian life through the lens of St. Benedict. Today, we'll be talking about leadership and evangelization, and how St. Benedict's writing in the Rule can teach us a lot about those things. So the chapter we'll be looking at today will be the second chapter in the Holy Rule of St. Benedict, where he speaks about the abbot, the spiritual leader of the monastery, who is elected by his fellow community to be the one who leads them closer to Christ. He is the symbol. The abbot, another word is Abba, the father of the community, that is to guide them in how they are to draw closer to Christ. St. Benedict's call and exhortation to the abbot, who he should be, how he should act, we can take to heart in how we should lead in the church, how we should lead as Christians in the world, and also how we should walk with others in evangelization and in ministry. So right out of the gates, St. Benedict is pretty, doesn't pull any punches when he's exhorting the abbot, just the kind of man, the kind of leader he is supposed to be. He reminds the abbot, hey, if you're being called Abba, the Father, if you are taking on this role as the person in place of God the Father on earth, monks are to look to you in looking for God the Father, in looking for Christ. Because you're given that responsibility, you are also given an accountability for all of those for whom you have been entrusted with charge. He says that the abbot will be held responsible and accountable by God the Father for anything that the Lord finds amiss among his sheep. That same conviction, that same truth, we must hold, brothers and sisters, that God will count us responsible for the things we do or don't say to others that can bring them towards or that might bring them away from a relationship with Jesus. Certainly in our day, it's super unpopular to be Christian or to speak outwardly about Christ, whether it's in school, at work, in kind of any situation. This desire to separate Christianity and morality from our experience in the world has caused us to really shut up when we should be speaking up. We take on culpability for not correcting or admonishing other people when they do something wrong, but we also take culpability for when we know a truth of the gospel or we have a relationship with Christ that we know could benefit others, but we don't say anything about it. For the abbot, Benedict says, you are held responsible when you don't lead your monks through correction, through love, and through discipline to a better relationship with Christ. For us, we have to remember that silence is not always the answer. Silence might be consent. If we see others, whether it's defaming the church or using the Lord's name, Jesus' name, as a curse word, or just saying all these different things, maybe even about the Pope or priests, or about untruths about the church or about the saints, Our Lady, whatever it is, if we hear those things and we remain silent, because maybe we don't want to cause conflict, we don't want to cause drama, if we don't say those things, then we, in a sense, are participating in the allowance of those things to go unanswered. We owe it to them and to God to correct them. It's actually a spiritual work of mercy to admonish the sinner. And it's a corporal work of mercy to correct the ignorant, instruct the ignorant. So it's merciful, and that's why the abbot, in his mercy, he should direct the monks along the way of the Lord through discipline, through correction, and through love. Now, the abbot says he can't just be all words, though. He has to lead by action. That's why a hypocritical monk, a hypocritical abbot for sure, and certainly in our case, a hypocritical Christian. The world recognizes hypocrisy because it lives it so well. So when the world sees a hypocritical Christian, that's how they're going to see all Christians. Don't be the Christian that other people see and think, wow, I guess that's what the church teaches these days. Sure, I'm not saying you might fall at times. Sin is a reality. Because you struggle with sin does not mean you're a hypocrite. But if you say, follow this church teaching, I believe this, I profess this, but then with another crowd, you say, that's not really that important. I only follow that on Sundays, or, well, that kind of sin isn't as big of a deal to me. We are not putting into action what we say with our words. So we can't just be all talk. We have to be action. All talk with no action is like a building with a foundation, but no edifice. However, if we have no talk, if we don't preach the gospel, if we don't preach the truths we believe, and our only action only show people, but we don't actually say anything about why we're doing what we're doing, we don't call others out to a better life, then we're an edifice, but we have no foundation. We don't know why we're doing. We can't give an answer to why we're doing what we're doing. We need both. So when we're evangelizing, we preach with our words and our actions. There's a common quote that's attributed to St. Francis of Assisi, although I don't know if he ever said it, which is, preach the gospel to all nations, and if necessary, use words. Well, guess what, brothers and sisters? The time in the world has come that it is necessary to use words, but that doesn't mean actions fall away. We have the double-edged swords of actions and words. That is how the gospel is preached. That is how we evangelize, by speaking the truth and then living the truth. St. Benedict also says that the abbot can show no favoritism, that all monks are to be treated with equal love, and that all monks are to be shown the care and mercy of a father. That is how we should treat our brothers and sisters in Christ and all those whom we encounter, regardless of whether or not they're Christians. We preach the gospel and show love to others, all of them, whether they return it or not. No favorites in the spiritual life. You can have your friends and your companions, but if you treat one group of people in a way that seems gentle and kind and people know you care for them, but then treat another group that maybe you don't agree with fully, or there's something about them that rubs you the wrong way, then you're looking like you have favorites. And Christ, he had his close friends, but did he have his favorites in a way that included other people in the love he had for them? No. Christ loved equally. Though he had a special love for many people, he had a special love for everyone, he still loves them all equally, and that's the kind of love that we need to extend to others. Now, Benedict does make a slight clarification on this thing about favorites, though. He says that if the abbot does differentiate a monk from another, it's because that one monk shows more humility. But the monk who shows humility will not want to be differentiated. We need to, in turn, be the humble servants. We need to be the ones who don't want to be noticed, don't want to be standing out from the crowd, but are in the crowd preaching. That is what evangelism is these days, is being in the crowd, not above it, not on some kind of stage, not even doing videos like this. It's being with and among them. So you don't stand out, but they know that in your eyes, they stand out. Benedict calls the abbot, and we're called as Christians to treat others with gentleness, to treat them with love, to treat them with generosity. But he says that each person might have to be treated slightly differently. Some we call to conversion through gentleness. Some we call through persuasive words. And some we even need a rebuke for just being wrong. But we can't only act in one way. We have to be able to respond to how the Spirit leads us. Lead with gentleness, lead with persuasion, lead with maybe confrontation, but love has to be the root, and learn to do all of those and do all well. St. Paul says we have to become all things to all people. It means we have to talk to all people, maybe in a slightly different way, but they have to all know that it's coming from a place of love. And finally, he says the abbot cannot be distracted by worldly things. We can't be distracted by worldly things. Souls are on the line. Souls going to heaven are on the line. We can't be distracted by wanting things of the world. We must only want things of heaven. And Benedict says, if an abbot's going to complain about that, of not being able to have the things that he might like, the worldly things, maybe fame, some treasure, notoriety, whatever it is, if he's going to complain about that, Benedict reminds that abbot of Matthew 6:33, which says, "Seek first the kingdom of heaven and its righteousness, and all these other things will be given to you besides." And that promise is made to us. If we seek the kingdom of heaven and seek it for others as well, we don't have to worry about all the other worldly things. God will take care of what we need as we take care of what others need. So I'm Brother Francisco. Thank you for joining me for another Benedictine Spirituality 1-on-1. I hope you enjoyed something and learned something maybe a little bit about how to take St. Benedict into your own life. I will be praying for all of you. Hope you have a wonderful day, and God bless.